Welcome, everyone, to the American Nomad podcast. I am your host, the American Nomad, Rav Holly. It is good to have you here this Wednesday. What is it, June 16th? My God, this month is flying by. Can't believe it's already half this month is already here and went. Anyway, glad to have you join us today. Just wanted to talk a little bit about, hold on, we got a light up here. Let's see. Something is, I don't know what that is. Hold on just a second. Let me do some adjusting here. That's better. See like a glow up there in the top of my screen to the left-hand corner on my screen. Anyway, thanks for joining me here today. Let's see who we got in here. We got Stream Elements. We got the moderator in here for Stream Elements, the chat bot. Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit today about the state of California reopening. Yesterday, somewhat everything seems to be reopening. I ended up working last week on a new Bella Thorne music video. It's going to be lit. Assistant director, just like the last one. It's amazing how far that girl has come in her creative endeavors and the way she's doing things. When we first met and I first arrived on set for the first music video for Phantom I did with her, I'm not going to say we saw eye to eye. I'm not sure we even really liked each other. We respected each other because we had a job to do, but it was her production, which I fully understood that. So whatever she wanted to do, I fell in line with that. But man, this time around, she's really coming into her own as a director, and I have much respect. I have a lot of respect for her. I'm not going to say I had that respect when I very first met her, or, there's a lot of things about Bella in the media, and a lot of that stuff is not such a positive light. So any celebrity I've ever worked with, ever met, you always have your media impression of them from what you've read in the media, what you've heard in the media, compared to when you actually meet them and work with them. Another perfect example of that was Stephanie, aka Lady Gaga. So never judge it. That they always talk about don't ever judge a book by its cover. Don't ever have an impression of a celebrity unless you actually meet that celebrity and know them. I know everybody in the general public, you get these, celebrities do things for notoriety. They do things to keep their name in the media and stuff. And you just have this idea that you actually have a good idea of who they are. And you feel like you know them because you read articles about them and stuff. But the truth of the matter is, I can tell you from meeting, I met tons and tons and tons of celebrities, have some of them in my phone. And what I've learned with working with celebrities directly is never judge them based on what their media persona is. Another perfect example of that is Spencer and Heidi Pratt. I got to work with them again about, I guess it's a month ago now. And I've known them since the Hills. And, Spencer, I used to tell people, back in the day, like 2008, 2009, people would, that's when the Hills was huge on MTV, and people would talk about what a douche canoe that Pratt was, that Spencer was. And I was like, if you knew him in person, he's really not that bad of a guy. He's actually a pretty good-hearted guy. And people would literally dislike me just because I said that. They're like, you just don't know him. I'm like, no, you don't know him. That's the problem. You are watching what producers want you to watch on a TV show, which is completely different than the person in real life. I'm not going to say it's all the way different, but you can never really judge a celebrity on what you're finding out through a media interpretation of who they really are, because anybody can put on any kind of persona. Perfect example of that is a big persona thing that I used to talk about a lot was Paris Hilton, because she used to put on that little baby act, back when she was doing her Paris show on MTV or whatever it was. She was always, doing the baby talk and stuff like that. And I'm like, if you meet that girl in real life, she's actually a really smart businesswoman. That's just a little, persona that she has for that show. which, now it's all come out. She's admitted to that. But people really thought that that's who she was in real life, was this little ditzy blonde. And I can tell you firsthand, Paris Hilton is not a ditzy blonde. She's far, far from it. But she plays a ditzy blonde really well. So people get that. A lot of people have gotten that impression of her. But she's a multi-millionaire on her own, not just on her family name. Now, she used her family name to get her notoriety, but she's worked her buns off to make her own way in the world, doing her own things. So I have a lot of respect for Paris Hilton as well. And the same goes for Bella. If you watch Bella's Instagram and her social media, Bella Thorne, she puts out this little thug persona, or, I don't know what it is, but this little rock thug persona, but she's really, really level-headed girl. Hate to disappoint you. Anyway, we shot this music video for Bella up in the Hollywood Hills, up in the Laurel Canyon area, which is an area that I absolutely love. A lot of old rock history, like the Mamas and the Papas, up in that area, the Doors back in the day, up in that area, a lot of the old rock icons from the 70s, they were all up in that Laurel Canyon, Hollywood Hills area, or the Hollywood Hills, Laurel Canyon area. So I do love being up in that area. It's so hard to believe, because you can just look right down on like Hollywood and Los Angeles right below you when you're up in that area. But you just seem like you're in some other world when you get up there in the top of those or up in the top of those hills. It just seems like you're a million miles from, Los Angeles when you're up there, but you're right there in Los Angeles, just at the top of the hills. Anyway, after the video wrapped, I was going to haul-tail it back to the OC to get out of Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is pretty chaotic these days. But I decided I haven't really been around Hollywood or anything since, the pandemic started. So I decided to get myself, out and about and see what was going on. So I took my one wheel and rode down to Hollywood Boulevard, expecting to just be able to cruise around, unimpeded once I got to Hollywood. Boy, was I wrong. It is just like olden times. The tourists are back. First off, the tourists are back, walking around aimlessly, looking around. It's so funny, dude. Tourists. I mean, I've been that tourist, so I can't, dog on them too much, because I've been that guy, going to cities I've never been to, and you just kind of walk around aimlessly, looking in awe at everything. So it's so funny how annoying it is, though, to people that are locals. I've been, but like I said, I've been that guy. So I try not to be too mean to the tourists, and we need them. Any city that thrives on the tourist industry, Los Angeles being one of the major ones, New York, any of these major metropolitan areas that thrive, that brings in a lot of income from the tourist industry, you have to have those tourists. So it was really actually good to see them just packed in Hollywood Boulevard, dude. You can tell they're tourists too, because people in California have a certain way about them, and, usually a certain look. So, 1 out of 10 people I can pick out pretty quickly if they're California locals. And sometimes, they're California locals, but they may be from up north, St. Louis Obispo, or even further north as far as, Fresno or San Francisco or Sacramento. And they come down to LA and hang out and fill into that the tourist thing. But what you get is like, I don't know, it's like even a Texas vibe or Midwestern vibe, or, they've got a different way about them. So you can pick out the California natives from the locals pretty much. And I would say out on Hollywood Boulevard this weekend, I would say it's probably 60 to 70% tourist, and maybe 30 to 40% locals. So there were a lot of tourists out there. Matilda, oh my God. I was just asking random Nomad about you. The chat, Joe Eldorado, random Nomad. I was asking them about you about 2 weeks ago, because I hadn't seen you and I was worried about you. I'm glad to see you back. Yes, it has been a while. You're home again, but I was traveling with poor reception. I need to catch up on all I've missed. I'm so happy you were traveling. Where all did you go? You got to let me know. So I'm just talking about, are you back in LA? You're back up in Pomona. Is it Pomona? I believe you're in Pomona, right? Um, and Los Angeles is opening back up. I went into a diner today with no mask on, into 7-Eleven with no mask on, and I carry it in my pocket, but I am very adamant about not wearing a mask if I don't have to, just for the simple fact is Californians are so attached to their masks. And until people stop wearing them, it's never going to change. We're going to be wearing masks forever. So I go everywhere I go to shock people, and I get some dirty, dirty looks, dude, not wearing a mask. I went into a 7-Eleven to get a big gulp while ago, and some older lady, probably in her late 50s, early 60s, she looked at me like I was the devil himself. She was so angry. She didn't say anything, but man, you could see it all over her face. And then this weekend, out on Hollywood Boulevard, the great thing about the tourists on Hollywood Boulevard, none of them were wearing masks. So that was another reason there's another way you could pick out the locals from the tourists, because the tourists none of them were a mask, but you had all of the people that were running around Hollywood Boulevard. You could tell they worked like around there somewhere, probably at one of the, restaurants or taco stands or something, because they're in their masks. And you could tell they were pretty taken aback by how many people were out on Hollywood Boulevard. And as far as masks go, I call them face diapers, little face blankies like Linus from Peanuts. Got to have your Californians, they got to have their face blankies. The only thing that Californians love more than their face blankie is the government telling them what to do. But anyway, so I went into Popeye's Chicken. I rode my one wheel all the way to Popeye's Chicken to go in there, and because I was craving Popeyes, because there's one here as well, but you can't eat indoors. So I was looking forward to the one there in Hollywood it's actually right on Hollywood Boulevard, and it's got a decent sized dining room. So I was really looking forward to dropping into Popeyes and eating some Popeyes, sitting in the restaurant, eating some Popeyes chicken, because I always get it and I have to set out on a curb somewhere in the parking lot, and eat my chicken, on a sidewalk. So I was really looking forward to sitting down in the restaurant and eating my Popeyes chicken. I get there, and this Popeyes used to stay open till 4 a.m. Lo and behold, I got there at 8:38, and the dining room closed at 8:30. So again, I got my Popeyes chicken, and I ended up searching for just a place I could sit on the sidewalk, sit on the side of the sidewalk on the street and eat my chicken. And then I didn't wear a mask in there, which was hilarious, because I watched the last of the diners finish up their chicken to leave, because the dining room is closed. They closed the dining room, and none of them were wearing masks. But the manager took issue with me because I was standing in line without a mask on. Matilda says, I'm back in SoCal, was gone a month, and moving to Oh my God, you're moving to Tennessee? Please say Nashville and don't say Memphis. Not that I have anything against Memphis, but Memphis has gotten pretty rough. Memphis was always a rough town, but it's gotten a lot worse the last decade. But it used to be a really nice town. I shot the Madison Hotel. There's a historic hotel in downtown Memphis called the Madison Hotel, and I did all of their advertising, the photography for their advertising brochures back in 2004 or 5, maybe, way back then. I just had a digital camera. Yes, Matilda, I'm so glad masks are done. Me too. Chattanooga, lucky you. That's a good place to move, Matilda. Lucky you. Yeah, I had planned to be out of California myself, but man, I don't know if it's going to happen. I wonder where Random Nomad is. That's so funny, because last week, my show's kind of like, I haven't been consistent with it, so it's just kind of like fell off. And last week it was just me and Random Nomad. He's probably still at work. I'm sending him a headset. Now I feel bad, Matilda, because you're the one that always have pitched into the show more or less than anybody else. But Random Nomad's, he's one of the loyals too. So I have an extra headset. That's an older headset that was with my Xbox, and my Xbox got stolen when they broke into my truck. So I don't really have a use for that headset anymore. So I'm sending it to random Nomad so he can use it with, hopefully he can get an Xbox or something so we can play some Call of Duty. I promised to send it to him about a month and a half ago, and then my printer went out, so I couldn't print my postage. So I've just been procrastinating on that. But today I actually went to the post office. I rode my one wheel like 3 miles to the post office and shipped his freaking headset. So hopefully he'll get it here in a few days. Yes, Chattanooga is beautiful, Matilda. Good for you. Lucky, lucky you. All of that country up there, the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, dude. I've been all over the United States, and that area up there, it's where Dolly Parton, she's from up in the Smoky Mountains up there. It's a different little world up there. Even Missouri, you get up to Branson, Missouri, which is north of Arkansas. Like if you get up to Bentonville, Arkansas, where the Walmart headquarters are, which is way north Arkansas, and then up into Missouri, it's beautiful up in that area. It's really hilly and a lot of trees. They call Austin, Texas, the hill country of Austin, Texas, and it is, but it's just not near on the level. It's not near on the level as like the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee and Branson, Missouri, and even like like I said, like Bentonville, Arkansas. When you get up in there, all of those big trees, and it's very foresty, and it's really nice. And Chattanooga is really beautiful. That's old Tennessee right there. And it's really, really nice. So when are you moving, Matilda? I had planned on being out of California right after the first of the year, and I was going to get me a big motor bus, as you guys know, and that just never happened. And now I've spent the money that I was going to use on the bus, so I'm kind of stuck. I had a window that I was really working hard to try to find the right bus, and I guess it's just the universe telling me that wasn't the right move because it just never could get it to play out. I'd even, some of you guys know I'd already found a bus. It was the one I want, which was a 40-foot Monaco Dynasty with a 8.3 Cummins diesel in it with an Allison transmission. It was a beautiful, beautiful bus. I bought a plane ticket to fly out to Arizona to buy it, to pick it up. And they sold it while I was on my way to the airport. I got a text saying the bus sold when they were supposed to be holding it for me. Have loved Cali, but it's changed too much. Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Matilda. I still, being out on Hollywood Boulevard this weekend, I still have a love for California, but it's fell off so much, man. I think California for me, because I used to have a huge love affair with this city. I mean, I used to love Los Angeles. And all the stuff I've done, all the fun I've had, all the people that I've met, the celebrities I've hung out with, and the movies I've worked on and the TV shows I've worked on, that's all stuff I would have never gotten a chance to do if I would have stayed living in Dallas after I got divorced. But moving out here opened up a whole new realm for me that would have been probably impossible anywhere else I'd lived. And moving out here really in so many ways was a blessing. And I have I've had such a love affair with California, but California to me reminds me of like a luxury sports car. I've had a few luxury sports cars and even Harley Davidson well, not my Harleys, but like luxury sports cars. It's a perfect example. When you get them, they're like your baby. You love them. You wash them all the time. You take care of them. They stay in good shape, and they're beautiful cars. But then over the years they get older, the headlight gets broken and you don't fix it, and then they just keep deteriorating. Then one day you walk out in that beautiful sports car they used to have, you look at it and you're like, it's kind of a piece of shit now. It's not really a great looking car. I mean, does my beeper work? Can you guys hear that? If I say you you met me, that's all you. Oh, GT Torres, I couldn't have missed you, dude. That's all I needed. Yeah, speak English, Puerto Rican. You met me, that's all you needed. That's right, GT. Of course, you live in Florida now with all the other Florida hicks, with all the other Trump supporters. GT Torres. I'm just messing with you, buddy. Actually, the funny thing is GT Torres there that just popped in. GT was, I want to say, damn, I think GT was probably one of the first 1 or 2, 3 people I met in California when I first came to California. You know what, GT? You were the very first person I met in California because you picked me up at the airport. That's crazy. 15 years ago, dude. GT, the dude, you can't miss him from Facebook there. His head's like the size of a freaking basketball. Like not the little basketball for the 8th graders, the big ones that like LeBron James plays with. Yeah, he was the very first person that I met in California because he actually picked me up April of 2006. No, November of 2006 at the airport when I flew into California to interview with GT's daddy, Kim Pavia, about a job for this company, MMA Agents, that we both used to work for. And then he got married. Yes, I was picked. Yes, I was. Picture hillbilly ass up. Dude, the last 15 years, brother, I've lived in California. You're the one that lives in BFE, Florida, with all the hillbillies. But it was funny because we worked together with MMA Agents for a few years, and then GT just up and moved to Florida. I don't even know how that happened. I know he got married and got a wife, which we all used to be friends and hang out. And all of a sudden, GT just went up and was like, "Oh, I'm moving to Florida." I'm like, what? All the way across the United States? And his ghetto Puerto Rican ass is from California. He's a California native. So it's not like he was it's not like he just moved a year or two ago to escape the famine that's going on. He was out of here years ago. When did you move, GT? You moved in what, 2009? 2010 or something like that? Long time ago. I guess GT was one of the smart ones. He actually saw what was going to happen in California and he got the hell out while the getting was good. When's the last time you've been back to LA, GT? I know you went to Vegas a few months ago, but when have you been to LA? 2013 is the last time you've been to LA? Oh, you moved in 2013. Okay. When's the last time you've been to LA? When was the last time you've been like down in LA? 2 years ago? Okay. A lot's changed in 2 years, brother. I bet you thought it was pretty bad 2 years ago. A lot has changed in 2 years. I'm going to tell you how bad it's gotten in LA. So here in my office building, which is a really pretty nice office building in Orange County, we're right by the college. We're right by Cal State Fullerton College. As a matter of fact, State College Boulevard is right here, and then Orangethorpe is right here. So I'm right at the corner of State College and Orangethorpe in a really nice office complex. Around my building, they've broken into my truck. They've broken into, we have a sandwich shop down on the ground floor, and they've broken into the sandwich shop, and they've broken in all the major companies around here have all got a window broken out where they've been broken into and robbed. So it's crazy. And even in Orange County, we're not in LA. There's like a homeless guy living out in front of our building on the grass. I took my dog out to walk earlier, and he's out there just living life on the grass. GT graduated from Cal State Fullerton. That's hard to believe, dude, that they would take, I guess they'll take anybody at Cal State Fullerton. I just lost so much respect for them. I thought they were a pretty good college, but I guess they're a pretty shitty college. I'm just kidding you, man. Yeah, it's a great little school. It's very popular. Cal State Long Beach and Cal State Fullerton. And I think Cal State Fullerton is more prestigious. I'm not going to get into that argument. I mean, people argue with you about this. I think Cal State Fullerton is a little bit more prestigious than Cal State Long Beach, because Long Beach is in Los Angeles County. Cal State Fullerton is in Orange County. Everybody knows Orange County is on the move up from Los Angeles County. So, Matilda, when are you moving to Chattanooga? Man, that's a long move. So many people are moving, man. So many people are leaving LA. That's insane. Or just the area, California in general. I can't even believe GT graduated, especially from college. That's crazy. So what are you doing out in Florida now, GT? Are you working for a sports agency out there? I've never completely figured out what you're doing out there. You're looking for a house now. Going to bed, buddy. I'm old. Love you, brother. Jesus Christ. It's only 7:30. It's 10:30 over there. Man, you are old. In bed by 10:30. Wow. I remember when me and GT was getting out of the shower to go out at like 11:30, 12 o'clock back in the day. It's what happens when you get married with kids. Have a good week, GT. Good to see you, man. Thanks for dropping in. I'm an occupational therapist working with old folks. Bitch, you are old folks. How are you working with old folks? That doesn't even make sense. I'm just kidding. Well, that's cool, man. That's a great gig to have in Florida, man. You'll never have to worry about being out of work. Matilda says market is crazy right now. Anything affordable sells like in 24 hours. Why I can't see JT's comments or GT's. Oh, GT's on Facebook. Oh, I forget you guys can't see. That's crazy how that works. Yeah, he's on Facebook, and Matilda, you're on YouTube. I'm simulcasting this through YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So you guys are on two different platforms. That's why you're not seeing GT's comments. It's good to know. I didn't even know that. I thought just everybody showed up in the one chat because I can see everybody's chat. Yeah, the market is crazy right now, Matilda. We were talking about that last weekend about graphics cards because I just want a new graphics card for my computer. And the graphics card I want is supposed to retail for, I think, $499. It's an RTX 3070 or 3080. And I would settle for either one. I'd really like to have a 3090 Ti. I mean, a 3080 Ti. I can't afford a 3090. A 3090 is like $1,600. But if you step down to like a 3080, I think they were supposed to be $699. And then if you get a 3070, like $599 or $499, somewhere in that ballpark, they're selling for like $3,000, $2,000 or $3,000 because there's such a shortage of them. Because of the pandemic. So if you go on eBay and you type in RTX 3080, there'll be like $2,200, $2,700. It's insane. And they're supposed to be no more than like $699 retail. Meaning if you walked into Best Buy, if Best Buy had them and you walked into Best Buy, you should be able to buy one for like $699, which I used to think was expensive. I used to look at that and go, I think I'll go for 3070, which is $499. But now I've looked at the prices for so long with them being $2,000 or $3,000. When I see one sell on eBay for like $750 or $850, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it sold for that cheap. And that's almost twice what the retail price is. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. The market right now and so many things is so astronomical, and housing is the same way, especially if you get into these cities like Austin and these different cities, anywhere in Florida, like where GT is. I know he used to be in Orlando, but I think he moved to Naples. But these places where people are moving from like New York or New Yorkers are moving to Florida, Californians are moving to Texas and Arizona. Matilda says the cost of living is supposed to be much less in Tennessee, and there's no state income tax. My pension will go further for sure. Yeah, exactly. Same with Texas. There's no state income tax. And, California, unless you live like out in the IE or somewhere, it's going to be hard to get a decent house. The closer to I always tell people the closer to the beach you get, the more the real estate gets. The closer to the shore you get, the further away from the shore you get, the cheaper it gets. But it's still not cheap. You get out to Riverside and Corona and out in those areas, you can find some decent track homes, for, 400,000, I guess. But if you're living out in that area of California, you might as well live like in Vegas or Texas or, Chattanooga is a lot prettier than Riverside. Matilda says the DMV fees are much less too. Only cost $45 to get exactly. So this is crazy that you bring that up, Matilda. So a friend of mine, she moved from California here to Texas, and her car registration on, I think she has. I'm just going to throw this out there because I don't remember exactly what kind of car she has, but I think she had. It's not even like a luxury car. I think she has like a. I don't know. She has like a 2017 Honda Accord or like a Nissan Altima or something like that. It's like a mid-range car. It's not like a Lexus or a Mercedes or BMW or anything like that. Her registration fees in California were $695 a year. She moved to Texas and they're like $78 a year. It's insane. And I was looking at a thing the other day and it was saying that this tax system thing, and I was going to bring it up because in California, we pay the most money. Our fuel prices are taxed the most, and we pay the most money for taxes for infrastructure, for like the highway, for like the roads, the bridges, the overpasses. We pay the highest in the nation. There's no other state, not even New York, that tops us when it comes to taxes for our infrastructure, which is understandable. California is the most populous state, so that makes a lot of sense, right? The thing that doesn't make sense is our roads rate 47th. There's 50 states. Our roads in California rank 47th. We're almost dead last. The roads in California are so bad, they're dangerous. They're literally dangerous. And we pay more taxes than anybody. So I don't know where all that money goes. It's just more political bureaucracy for taxes, when I don't know where that money goes, because it damn sure ain't going into the roads. Because they just did a 60-cent fuel increase tax from 2019. They increased the fuel prices 60 cents for the roads because they needed more money for the roads. They ain't done shit on any road. The only road I've seen them do anything to is I-5, and it's been under construction for the last 5 years. They never finish it. They're always working on the exact same part of the damn road. I used to wonder when I first moved out here, I watched them. I was living in downtown Long Beach, and I was living in downtown Long Beach, and it was before. Now Long Beach has come up. I was talking about that this weekend with some people about how much downtown Long Beach has come up. It is being gentrified. It's really on the come up. It's really getting nice. Before long, it's going to be like Hermosa Beach or Manhattan Beach, or even maybe it'll reach Santa Monica status one day. The only problem with that is it'll be like Santa Monica. Only the, few will be able to live there because it'll be too expensive. And I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? But anyway, yeah. Oh, Long Beach is coming up. So when I moved to downtown Long Beach, they were building this little loft. I think they're called, as a matter of fact, I think they're called LB Lofts or something like that. And they're right downtown, I think on Long Beach Boulevard. And it's only, I think they are maybe 4 stories tall, maybe 5, but I think it's a 4-story multiplex. It's not even a skyscraper. It's not even a mid-rise. A mid-rise is, I think, 7 stories is considered a mid-rise. So they're not even a mid-rise. They're like just a multifamily, but it's all lofts. It's all these like chic lofts, but they're not very big. They're pretty small. I think they're like 800, maybe 1,100 square feet for like the largest one, but I don't even think they have 1,100 square feet, but they're called LB Lofts, if I remember right. It took them like 5 years to build this building. And I could not figure out for the life of me why it took them so long to build that freaking building. And then I finally, one day it dawned on me, because in when I moved from Dallas, dude, they'd put up a 70-story building in a year and a half, a year. Like one day you'd drive by and the ground's broken. You'd drive by like a month later and it's 30 stories in the air. And then you drive by another 3 or 4 months later and they're finishing the top of the building. You're like, Jesus, that building went from nothing to done in like a year. And in California, it takes them so freaking long, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then one day it dawned on me that they have to earthquake proof anything that they build out here, especially if it's tall. So I guess, and this is my own, I don't know this for a fact. It's just what I came up with. It's the only thing I could figure out. It could take them so long to build something out here is they've got to earthquake proof it, which in Texas, they don't have to worry about that. So maybe that's why their construction is so slow. I don't know. I think that's it. Because I do know they have to go into a lot more detail into foundation and stuff like that. And I know some of these buildings are even put on huge rollers or ball bearings or whatever. So if the ground starts moving, the bottom base of the building will literally just roll around in the base of the building and the foundation. They put like this big cement built around, and then they have the building is literally sitting on these ball bearing type rollers. And so if an earthquake hits the building, instead of the building tilting and bending, the whole foundation of the building just kind of rolls around in its base, which is actually brilliant. But that's the only reason I can think it takes them so long and so expensive to build out here. Matilda says sanctuary state crap. Yep, that's a big part of it. It's all going into homeless outreach programs. Yes. And sanctuary state crap. Exactly like you said. It's good to hear your voice again. I miss it. Oh, Matilda, that's so nice of you to say that. I'm so glad to see you. I was wondering about you and where you went and what happened. I don't know if I offended you or something. I know you had asked me in the comments on my video I did for a gaming thing. That you had asked me if, because I did a Call of Duty gaming thing, and you had asked me that if I thought it was going to be offensive to some people because it was kind of, I guess there's violence in the video game. So I was hoping I didn't offend you by that comment or whatever. Just so you know, that I rethought that, and I started a whole different gaming channel now. It's called Rock Gaming. I just started it. So so that's where I'm going to put all my gaming stuff instead on this channel. Prolific Invention. Good to see you, man. Everything is open here with almost no restrictions or cove hoops to jump through, but many restaurants are keeping dining closed due to the cost savings and employee shortages, which is reaching critically. Where are you at, Prolific? Are you here in LA? I don't even know where you're at, buddy. Everything's opening up, man. I was in Hollywood this weekend and it was popping, dude. It was going off. There was people everywhere. Now, the one thing that's not open in Hollywood. Now, I saw a buddy of mine that I know from, I'd say he's a buddy, but he's not really, I've never met him in person. I've just talked to him. I've just talked to him on Clubhouse, but he's here in LA and he's like a big movie producer and stuff. And he's out and about all the time in Hollywood. And he showed I saw his Instagram story and he was in the club this weekend somewhere in LA. He's like, everything, his caption was LA's open again. And he was at a nightclub and it was packed. There was probably 500-600 people from him just taking his phone, moving across the crowd. It was packed. Oh, you're in Michigan. Sorry, buddy. I didn't get all the way through it. I'll look at my list. So where are you at in Michigan, Prolific Invention? You know, Random Nomad, when he's in here, he's in Wisconsin. So you guys aren't too far. Apart. No more face panties. That's funny. You call them face panties. I call them face diapers face blankies. No more face panties, but massive employee shortage and goods shortage. Grand Rapids. I've been to Grand Rapids many times. Yep. So we're having that same problem here in LA with shortages of stuff. It's kind of weird because I go into the 7-Eleven right down here by me And I go in there, and it's weird to go into a 7-Eleven, and the stock in the 7-Eleven is just barren, I guess is the word you would use. It's just pretty barren, like just random stuff like chips that I usually get there, and like tortilla chips that I usually get at the 7-Eleven. They don't have them. They're out. Another thing that has been out of stock for months now is my dog's food. I had this very specific food that I bought him that's in a box, and it's these little baggies, and you just open the little baggie and pour the wet food out, and then he has dry food, so I would mix them up. But the wet food and the little baggies, they don't have them. They're out. And I've been getting Pedigree, because Pedigree dog food has pretty close to the same thing, but it's not as much in the bag, and it's harder to get out of the bag. So, but anyway, I haven't been able to find his dog food for probably 2.5 months now. Barren is the right word, prolific invention. Man, I haven't been to Michigan in, God, the last time I was in Detroit. Let's go to Detroit. The last time I was in Detroit, the car plants were still in business. That you can go watch YouTube videos now of all of these barren car plants that are just these huge complexes of these ginormous buildings that are just sitting barren and graffiti and everything. They were all still in business. This was, oh man, what was the last year that I was in Michigan? Probably right after 9/11. Because I used to work up there all the time, and 9/11 pretty much killed that. So it was probably about 2001, 2002. God, that's damn near 20 years ago. 20 years ago. I can't even believe that. But I used to work there all the time, man. From all the way from, I worked in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Detroit, and Michigan. And all the way from, I'm trying to remember, south of Detroit. What was the first city I would start in? But I would go all the way up. I'd go to Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Flint, and work my way up the state north and get all the way up to Harbor City. Sometimes I get Wisconsin and Michigan mixed up, but I get all the way up to, Hanover. Can't remember the last city that I would go before I would get on the, oh my God, what's the big bridge that goes over? It's like it's bigger than the Golden Gate Bridge. God, I've crossed that bitch so many times. Traverse City. There you go. I would go across the big bridge. God, what is the name of the bridge? Over to the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And then I would take Route 9, I think. God, this is 20 years ago, man. The Mackinaw Bridge. Yes, the Mackinaw Bridge. I crossed the Mackinaw Bridge, and then it's crazy. That is a crazy ass bridge. I'm not even kidding. I know people drive across that bridge on a daily basis and don't think a thing about it. Now, I've been across the Golden Gate Bridge many, many, many times, and I've rode across the Golden Gate on my Harley. It's just another bridge. That Mackinac Bridge is on a different level. Look it up on, if you want to do something interesting, if you're into details, look the Mackinac Bridge up compared to the Golden Gate Bridge, because everybody talks about how magnificent and how huge the Golden Gate Bridge is. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a big ass bridge. Look the Golden Gate up compared to the Mackinac. The Mackinac is like this, and the Golden Gate is like this. The Mackinac Bridge is huge. It's the largest, if I'm not mistaken. This could have changed. They could have built a new bridge somewhere in the United States. But as far as I'm concerned, or I used to know, it was the largest expansion bridge in the United States. And I went across that bridge a couple of times in this little Iveco box truck that I used to have, that I used to drive up there when I was working up there. And when you were it was too late. Before you're getting on the bridge, you would start to go Gaylord. I'd be leaving Gaylord, and I'd go up and get on the bridge, and there would be a warning telling you, if you're in any kind of light truck or anything, you might not want to go across the bridge because the winds could blow you off the bridge or blow you over. And I remember the first time going across thinking, What? I've been through Texas in this truck, man, and the wind's blowing 70 miles an hour. The wind ain't going to do anything. Man, I got up at the top of that bridge and my knuckles were white as they could be, man. I was getting blown all over that bridge, and everybody, even people in cars, were getting blown all over the bridge. So you literally just, you didn't want to stop completely because you felt like if you completely stopped, you'd get blown over. So people would just literally crawl along at the top of that bridge. It was crazy. Prolific Ninja says, I have 2 driven box trucks across. Yep. You know, it wasn't like that every time. I crossed that bridge. I've crossed that bridge probably 15 or 20 times, maybe 25 times, and only 2 times. And one time it was about 3:00 in the morning. And it was windy when I left out of Gaylord. And then I was like, yeah, that was the first time I went across when it was windy. So I remember the last time I was up there and it was windy. And I think they said like the winds were even moderate on the bridge. I was like, nah, we'll be staying in Gaylord tonight. It's supposed to be, the wind's supposed to let up in the morning. I'm not doing that again. And then it was winter time, so I get across the bridge, and this little truck I'm in is not it never broke down on me, but I always felt like it was going to. It was a European Iveco, which is like it's a huge truck in Europe. I mean, there are a manufacturer. Iveco in Europe is probably like Kenworth in the United States, or Freightliner. There's tons of them, but you never hardly see them in the United States. But I bought it because it was a little 3-cylinder diesel that I could run on veggie oil when I bought it. But I never converted it and used it for that. And it just always ended up just putting regular diesel in it. But it was an air-cooled diesel. And I mean, it got great fuel mileage, and I drove it all over the United States. I mean, from South Dakota to, no, I never took it to, the one place I never took it was to Montana, because way too many mountains up there. But yeah, but anyway, I come off the bridge, and if you go over there in the wintertime, it's crazy because they have this one route, it's like a 2-lane foresty country road that runs through the Upper Peninsula, from one end of it to the other. Like you'd come off the bridge, the Mackinaw Bridge, and I would take it around to Escanaba, which is so funny because first time I pulled into Escanaba, I was telling somebody on the phone, they're like, where are you at? I was like, I just pulled into this little town called Canada. And some local goes, hey, it's Escanaba or something like that. I was like, oh, because they have a water tower in the middle of town that says SES Canada. It's spelled Canada. I guess it's pronounced Escanaba or something. So anyway, and then I'd leave there and go to Iron Mountain, Michigan, which would be going back south. And then I would jump across to like Appleton, Wisconsin, and Grand Rapids, Wisconsin, and go down to Manitowoc and all the way down to Milwaukee, and then work my way back over to Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I've been all through that country many, many, many times. So anyway, I come off the bridge in the wintertime, and if you break down, there's 6 foot of snow. Literally 6 foot of snow. You're driving through this tunnel of snow because they have a plow that keeps that road. They try to keep it open, but evidently sometimes they have to close it because of the snow. But I was up there, I think the last time I went through there was, what year was it? 2003, 2004, maybe, because they had record snowfall that year at that time that had over 86 inches of snow at that time, which at that time was the record for Michigan. They never had that much snow. And I got up there to the UP, and I'm driving along in my little box truck and looking out, and literally not even 3-4 foot from my truck when I'm driving 65 miles an hour, or whatever, 55, 65, whatever I was driving through there, there's a solid wall of snow, which was ice. And I was like, man, if you break down, you're just here. You're going to be blocking the entire lane, and somebody's probably going to run into you from behind. Because when you're driving through the UP in the wintertime, for some reason, there's a lot of fog up there. So you'd get fog, there'd be fog, you'd be riding along there, and it'd be just as clear could be. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like you're in a cloud flying on an airplane. You'd drive into some little town and there'd be fog. I'll never forget though, when I was working up there or going through there, because what I would do is I would be working like in Gaylord was my last stop. I go across the Mackinac Bridge and then across the UP of Michigan, but I had no business in the UP. My next stop was Iron Mountain, which is all the way across the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So the first few times I went up there, I just flew through the UP. I mean, I didn't even stop except to get fuel to get the hell out of there to get to my next stop. But then I realized one day I pulled into a gas station. I was like, man, it is really nice up here. I think I'm just going to get a motel room because they have these little towns. They're these little mountain towns or these little forest towns. And there's really nothing there but maybe like a gas station, an old school, old timey motel, and maybe a convenience store and the gas station, and maybe where they sell firewood and where they sell stuff for ice fishing. And there's not a whole lot in any little town up there that you stop in. It's just one of those little towns that's right on the side of the road. And I pulled in and to get gas, I got gas and I looked back behind the gas station and there's like this little quaint, it looked like something out of a movie, it kind of looked like a horror movie with something out of a horror movie. There's like this little cottage motel that with each room is its own little cottage. And if you go out to Amboy, California, they have the same kind of stuff out there, but it's all abandoned. So I thought to myself, like, man, I'm in no hurry. Why don't I just freaking stop for the night and I was tired. I was getting sleepy. And the last thing you want to do is be driving across the UP of Michigan when you're sleepy. Because there's a good chance you'll go to sleep because there's not a lot to see. You're just kind of seeing the same terrain the whole time, like the lake's over to the left of you, like Michigan. And then it's just like forestry stuff on the right. And this was more in the summertime. This wasn't when it was snowing. So I thought to myself, I never come through here when it's not snowing or if it's not cold or wintertime. So it's nice right now. It's probably like 65 degrees, 70 degrees. It was summer. I was like, I think I'm just going to stay here for the night and I'll get up and continue my journey in the morning if they have a room. So I go over to see if they have any vacancies. And lo and behold, every single room was vacant. They didn't have one room that was occupied. So the little lady, it was like this little lady, she's probably 65 years old, that owned the motel. She's like, honey, any room you want, you can have any one you want. And I was like, well, which one's like the most, like, because they were kind of in the woods. And she goes, why don't you walk around out there and come back and tell me which one you want? I was like, okay. So I went and walked around and kind of looked. And then there was this one way down to the end, not quite to the end, that had a patio and everything. And so I was like, oh, this one's perfect because I can sit out here and mess with my laptop and, check stuff on my laptop. And so I go back and I tell her the one I want. I pay for it. She gives me an old school key. No credit card key. She gives me a key. And I think I had to pay like a $5 deposit for the key or whatever, maybe 15. I don't remember what it was. So I gave her the deposit for the key and she goes, now in the morning, honey, just bring me the key back and I'll give you your deposit back. I'm like, yep, no problem. She put in one of those old school, my deposit, one of those old school manila, like your, for all of us old folks, like your report card came in, the little skinny one though. And she wrote my name and the number on it. And that was my key deposit. And I was like, man, this is like being transferred back into the 70s. So anyway, I go down to my room. I unlock the door knob. It's like, everything's like old. I mean, like we're talking about 60s, 70s old, the doorknobs, everything. So it was like being right back in time. I go in my room and the very first thing that I notice, number one, there's no TV. Not like an old school CRT tube TV, or there's no TV at all. There's not a TV in the room. I was like, that's weird. So I was going to call the front office and ask her like, huh, there's no TV in the room. And then I go to the night table, there's no telephone. I was like, oh, okay. So as soon as I seen there wasn't a telephone in the room, I knew that there wouldn't be no TV. So at first, for a split second, now keep in mind, this was 2004, probably 2003, 2004, maybe 2002. I don't remember, but for a split second, when I noticed there was no TV, as soon as I opened the door, I looked to see what kind of TV the room had, because I was expecting some old CRT, big O, a monstrosity tube TV, maybe with a stereo or something in it, like my grandmother used to have her a freaking record player. But there's no TV at all. So for a split second, I was like, oh my God, there's no TV in here. What am I going to do? And then I looked to go call to see maybe if my room just didn't have a TV, and there's no telephone, none, because I've never checked into a place where you couldn't just call the front desk and go, hey, can I get like a wake up call? Or, hey, can I get some room service? Hey, can I get something? There's a telephone for everything you want in the place you're staying. There's no telephone. So I was like, huh, that's kind of crazy. So anyway, I put my laptop down. So I was like, okay, if there's no telephone, there's no internet. So I don't have to call about Wi-Fi. I can tell you already, there's no freaking Wi-Fi up here in BFE. So then for a split second, I was like, huh, did I make the right choice? Maybe I shouldn't have done this. And so I set I used to carry a briefcase, one of those, they used to be really cool. Everybody used to have one that you carried your laptop in. It looked like luggage, but it was really it was your laptop suitcase thing. I don't even know what they were called, but we all used to have one, a Samson, or, it was like a briefcase, but it had this padded area for your laptop. Nobody even uses those anymore. I remember going to Office Depot and looking at them and just standing there for 30 minutes trying to figure out which one I wanted, which one I had to have. This one was $86.99. That one's $79.99. I would look at them. This one's got a magnet. Nobody uses those anymore. I haven't seen one in years. And I used to have to always have one. So funny. But anyway, I set my little Samson laptop briefcase down with my IBM ThinkPad and all my work stuff in there. And I was like, well, I can't get any work done, or I can't get a hold of the office because I'm not going to have a telephone. And my cell phone didn't work. I had a cell phone and it didn't work. So I was like, huh, what am I going to do? So I set my stuff down. I was like, you know what? I'll take a shower, be clean. And because I've been working all day. So I take a shower. And I was drying my hair, I remembered the patio. So I opened the curtains, old school curtains that you pull those strings, and the curtains open like the Red Sea, like for Moses, and they're like thick. The curtains look like something, that right out of the 70s. They're like a chocolate brown and gold color, plaid woven color. I'll never forget. And then it's got like a sheer white curtain on the inside. So you could open the blackout curtains, and then you could have like a sheer, like a wedding dress. So I opened the curtains up and I realized, man, I'm standing there looking directly into the forest. So I was like, ooh. So I opened the doors, and old French doors. I open the doors and I step out there, and there's a little table with a seating area. And I sat down there, and I'm just sitting there. And I was like, huh, I'm going to get something to drink. And I remember I always carried a cooler that plugged in the cigarette lighter. So I went and got me like a soda or something. And I'm just sitting there looking at the forest, and it's like, oh, well, this is why you don't need a TV. This is better than a TV. And I'm sitting there for a few minutes, and out of the woods walks a mama deer and a couple of baby deers. And then there was a buck, and there ended up being like this little herd of deer of about, I don't know, this five or six deer. And they were beautiful white-tailed deer. Like, I'm from Texas, we have these big mule deer. They're not the prettiest deer. These are Bambi deer. These are beautiful white-tailed deer like you see in the movies, with a little, the little white specks on their bottoms, with the cute white tail, with the buck had, he's probably like a 3 or 4 point buck, big antlers and the mama deer. And I thought to myself, oh, I probably shouldn't move because I didn't want to spook them. Because usually if deer are around and they sense a human, they're gone. And because of this motel, and these, I guess people feed them, so they really weren't that spooked by me because I move around a lot, and they were not right to my patio. They were probably 15 yards away, maybe 15, 20 yards away, right at the edge of the tree line. And there was like this gap of like grass, this grassy area. And then you got into the forest, and they just kind of stepped right out of the forest, I guess, to see if I was going to feed them or if I had something to offer them. And then they stayed there for probably about 15 minutes. I just started going about my business. You know, I was watching them, and then I'd go into my motel room, come back out. They were still there. And then I went in one time and came out, and they were all gone. So it was really, really cool, and really a memory that I'll cherish forever, because it was so funny. And the thing I realized the next morning when I left there, I was a little sad to leave. Because I just got to unplug for that night. It was a little what's the word? It was a little alarming because I couldn't call my wife. I would always call my wife. I was married at the time, so I'd always call my wife at night and let her know that I made it to a hotel. I was safe. Everything was good because I was traveling, and she would get alarmed if I didn't call. So I didn't call her because I didn't have a phone, didn't have any cell service. So I stopped the next morning and gave her a call to let her know all was good. And she's like, "Oh my God, I was worried about you." But anyway, when I left there the next morning, I realized, like, I was so happy that there wasn't a TV in that room, because I know at that time in my life, if there had been a TV in that room, I would have had the TV on, and I would have just been sitting on the bed, you know, like with my clothes on, just, you know, how you do in a hotel, you just kind of sit on the bed, you know, with your back propped up against where the pillows go, watching TV. And that's what I would have been doing. And I had such this little random moment by myself, nobody with me, nobody to talk to, just me by myself. But I was just so with nature, not in nature. You know what I mean? I was like immersed in nature, but I was in a freaking like $29.99 a night motel room from like the 50s. But yeah, it was such a cool little experience. And I remember getting back to Dallas and trying to tell my wife, and, you know, nobody got it. Everybody I tried to tell, "Oh my God, I ran it out. I found this little hotel in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It was like being in a movie," and nobody got it. Let's jump back in here and see what you guys have to say. Prolific Convention said there's also a lot of primitive campsites up there. You know, I was working, so I didn't see any of those. Matilda says horror movie stuff sounds a little scary. Yeah, it actually kind of was, because I mean, it wasn't scary. I wasn't scared or anything, but it was just weird because all of the stuff, you know, the lady that owned the motel, I figured it was probably her and her husband, or, you know, maybe her husband had passed away. But I kind of got the feeling that they had probably owned that hotel for like decades. You know what I mean? Because like their house was part of the motel, and it was the main house where the office was, should I say. So like when she left, she just walked back to her house. She went through the little door and she was back in her house. And the office closed at 8 o'clock. So if you needed anything after 8, you were SOL unless it was an emergency. And they had like this bell thing on the outside of the deal that said, for emergencies only, don't ring unless it's an emergency. But all of this stuff in that motel was literally from like the 70s, 60s, 70s. It had like paneling on the walls, you know, like from the 70s. But it was cool. Prolific Convention, let's see. Prolific Convention says, if you're prepared, the UP is amazing. If you're not, you can get quite screwed. Yeah, I can actually see that, because it's right up there on the Canadian border. Another night I remember going through there, I had this really nice Ranger CB. It was actually a two-way ham radio that's disguised as a CB, which are illegal to use if you don't have a license for them. I don't have it anymore, but back in then I had it. And the reason they were illegal is because it looks like a regular CB, but you could talk 30, 40 miles, sometimes 50 miles away. And I was talking to a trucker that was up in Canada when I was going through the UP, and he was actually from the United States, but he was in Canada. So we were talking back and forth, and I was telling him where I was, and it was, like I said, 2 or 3. It may have been the same. I think it was that exact same night that I almost got blown off the Mackinaw Bridge. So, but it's a beautiful area up there. Prolific Invention says, I like to go to Copper Harbor and mine copper in the tourist attractions for that. They bring a ton of ore out of the mine for you to dig through and prospect. I usually find $100 to $2,000 worth of copper. Wow, that's amazing. They charge a $50 scoop of the loader. It almost always pays off. Man, that sounds like a good time. They do that a lot in Arizona, and even here in California, you know, the 49ers, you know, California was basically founded on mining gold. So there's a lot of mines and stuff around California, but you see more of it in Arizona. The problem is you can go out and prospect and stuff, like out in the Mojave Desert. There's a ton of places to prospect out there. You ain't going to find jack. Too many people have already been over that stuff. You're not going to find much of anything. So being able to find $100 to $2,000 worth of copper, that would make it worthwhile. Here you pay like a prospector fee for the prospector that's going to take you out, and it's basically just like a tourist thing, because you're going to go out, you're going to dig, and you're going to pan for gold, or you're going to pan for whatever you're panning for, and you're probably not going to find diddly squat. You're just going to find sediment over and over and over. Matilda says, prolific invention. I'll take your word for it. I've been in SoCal my whole life. We don't have seasons here. You're going to have seasons in Chattanooga. That's for sure. It gets cold in the wintertime, Matilda. You'll have fun. Prolific invention says, raw copper can be sold to artists on eBay and on Etsy. Yes, that's very true. I actually have a friend of mine. You may know she goes by Muddy. Her name is Chelsea Vicari. She has a YouTube channel called Vicari, Vicari. And she's got a very popular Etsy store these days. That's what she basically does for a living now, is that she's making lots of money on Etsy. Rumor has it like 10 grand a month or something like that. And so she makes a lot of stuff. I don't know if she does any copper stuff, but I've seen a lot of copper artistry. So I know exactly what you're talking about. You could probably make a living doing that. Prolific invention. Well, all right, guys, we are 8 minutes past the hour. Usually try to keep this to right around an hour. I usually go about 10 to 15 minutes over. So we're going to start wrapping it up. Matilda, it was so good to see you, girl. So happy you're doing good, and happy to hear that you've been out traveling and you're headed, after living in your whole life in California, in Southern California, you are moving to Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is crazy. You're going to love it. I have a friend of mine. She just moved to North Carolina. As a matter of fact, Chelsea Vicari, she's in North Carolina now. You know, 2 different states, still same dichotomy, still the territory. If you see the trees and stuff, they still kind of same seasons and stuff. Even though they're completely 2 different states. Prolific Invention says, I know her, great channel. Yeah, you do know her. Yeah, she has a great channel. Check out her TikTok. She's gotten really big. I don't know if you're into TikTok. I'm not a big TikToker. You know, I thought it was for kids, but there's some really interesting stuff on TikTok. It's not just all dance videos. And Chelsea's got a really good TikTok video. TikTok channel. Another person that's got an amazing TikTok channel is my kid friend, Paul Barger, the bread trucker. So if you haven't seen Paul's TikTok channel, he's a lot more wrapped up in his TikTok channel now than he is YouTube. I think he's making more money off of TikTok than he does YouTube. And he's been pretty successful with YouTube, but he's got, I don't know, 100 or 200,000 subscribers on TikTok or followers. Matilda says, thanks, Rav. Looking forward to catching up with the channel. Thank you, Matilda. I really appreciate that. I've been kind of neglecting it since it got demonetized. I haven't really put my, kind of took the, I guess I took the heart and soul away from it. It just kind of took my ambition away, if that makes sense. But I still do it because I don't know. I like talking to you guys and I miss you guys. And it's just a way for, even though I'm back to working now, it gives me, it's still, I'm not working all the time. So it gives me, I feel like I'm being productive. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm keeping it up and I enjoy it. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Prolific Invention, Matilda. I wonder where, it's so funny because Random Nomad, I finally got his freaking headset sent out and I was going to give him the tracking number for it. And he must still be working tonight. I know he's working a lot now too. It's kind of funny because when none of us were working, I would have 15, 20 people watching, but I think everybody's back to real life now. And I know California is opening back up and getting back to real life. And it's nice, but I will say on the other hand, being stuck in traffic last Thursday, I was like, oh man, the pandemic is over. There were certain little things, I don't want to get going again, but there were certain little things about the pandemic that I absolutely loved. Two of them really quick was no traffic. You could drive anywhere in LA you wanted to drive. And people that are not from LA don't understand that. I came back Sunday. I came back 32 miles, 33 miles, maybe 35 miles. I had to drive from Hollywood back to Fullerton. Traffic on a Sunday. So I know people, my peeps in Dallas, they bitch and they complain about Dallas traffic. Oh my God, Dallas traffic. People don't understand about Dallas traffic. What Dallas people in Dallas don't understand is their Monday morning high traffic is our Sunday in LA. So I had to fight traffic, miles and miles of traffic on Sunday to get back to my office here in Fullerton. I don't miss the traffic. I loved being able to just get on. If I wanted to go somewhere, I just go. There was nobody on the freeways. You could go anywhere. And if you looked and it was 30 miles, you could be there in 20 minutes instead of 2 hours. So like the other day when I left my office, I had a 9:30 call time. 9 o'clock call time. I left an hour and a half to get there to Hollywood. It took me 2 hours. I was 30 minutes late. Yeah. So traffic, because I wasn't expecting traffic to be as heavy as it was. I wasn't expecting full on LA traffic again. But it was full on LA traffic. So I ended up being half hour late because I gave myself an hour and a half to drive 35 miles when I needed 2 hours to drive 35 miles. Anyway, and the other thing really quick is my little restaurant right here where I usually get my takeout food. I could just walk in there and order. And I mean, I've been eating there the entire time I've been in this office, and 90% of the time I would go in there and be the only person in there getting takeout. There would not be another person in there. I could walk in, walk right to the counter, order my food, wait 5 minutes, have it, and be out. Now I go in there and I have to wait. There's 20 people in front of me. I got to stand and wait. There's a 15-minute wait list. I'm like, oh my God. So it's weird that there are things about the pandemic that I'm going to miss. As crazy as that sounds, I already miss them, but it's good to be back to real life. And it's good for all of us to get rid of the face panties and get back to living life and going back to work and being productive and living like real human beings again. And with that being said, remember guys, keep looking up because that's where it all is. And we will see you guys back here Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, hopefully. And if not, have a great week, guys. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.